What's going on, everyone? Dare here, and welcome back to another day of Marvel Snap. Oh boy, we got an OTA. I actually always said that I wasn't really planning on doing a whole lot of OTA, I guess, analysis videos, because I'm not really a huge analytical player. I just like to play for fun and have a good time. However, I can't play any matches. My boy Cerebro got buffed, and I can't get into any matches in game. And so I was like, well, I either won't make a video or I can just ramble here about the OTA for a little bit and everyone can realize how bad of a player I actually am. So that's the plan. Is we're gonna hop in, we're gonna go through the OTA, I'm gonna give my opinions, and they're probably mostly wrong. So I'm gonna put that caveat out there, is if you're listening to me talk and you're like, this guy is an idiot, you're probably right. But overall, let's dive in there and let's check out what actually changed in the OTA. Okay, we're starting at the bottom and we're going up. So the first one on our list is Elsa, primarily because I feel like most of the ones at the top of the list I'm going to ramble about more. So let's get the easy ones out of the way. I do absolutely love Elsa Bloodstone. She's a 3-3. She's getting bumped up to a 3-4. Is this enough to make her, I don't know, better relevant again? I don't think so. I think that everything that she does, Galacta does better. And that's just fact. I mean, she is more restrictive than Galacta. Galacta gives +3, she gives +2. And I think just overall, Galacta's a better play at this point in time. Could you play them in tandem? I mean, sure, but would you want to? Because I mean, at that point, I don't think it's completely necessary. The only play that I could think of is Kitty Pryde, and at that point, you'd want to be able to fill up a lane on turn 1 and 2, play down Elsa in that lane, Galacta on another lane, and then you wouldn't be able to even play Kitty until what, turn 5? So I don't think so. I don't think that quite necessarily works out. I mean, she probably would be fine just playing her out there, and then, you know, as she buffs cards as they fill up towards the end of the game, that's probably fine. But overall, I do like to see the buff. We are all getting her for free this month, which is also, you know, really nice. So I think I was just wishing that she was going to get a little bit of a bigger bump other than just +1 power. But it is. I'm happy to see it. I love Elsa. I definitely will be playing her still. Even more now, probably, that she did get this buff. But either way, moving on to the next one. All right, the big one. I don't know actually how he's this low on the list. Our boy Cerebro finally got a change. Not a big one. I mean, yes, a big one, but not a huge, like, overarching change. He went from a 3-0 to a 2-0, and I don't know. I'm excited. The deck that I was planning on playing today was, in fact, a Cerebro deck, so I could play around with it a little bit because I'm super excited. I love Cerebro 3. Cerebro 3 is my jam. I have not dabbled a whole lot in C5 or C2 or C4 or any of the other ones. I think C5 is kind of the other, as much as popular. C3, I don't know, I may be speaking out of my, you know, out of my rear end here, but I'm pretty sure C3 is probably the more popular one right now, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I mean, someone let me know, because I think C3 is really the only one that I've seen at least pop up here and there recently. But overall, I think this is a huge change to Cerebro. I mean, this allows Cerebro into Mystique on turn 5, and then you can play some bigger things on turn 6. So I think that this is a huge change for Cerebro. There are still things that are kind of working against him, like locations. Locations are always going to be a pain for Cerebro, but I am really, really excited to kind of see what we can cook up with him. I also kind of like the attention to them trying to bring different archetypes into the meta. I feel like that we have a lot of different types of decks, but I feel like we've been seeing the same kind of decks for a while now. So I like that they're trying to bring a couple archetypes back in, shake things up a little bit. And I'm really, really excited to play around with Cerebro moving forward. Then Stormbreaker got a buff. Not Beta Ray Bill himself, but Stormbreaker went from a 0-1 to a 0-3. I mean, I'm kind of excited. I want these decks to be good. I think that the Hammer Bros deck is so much fun. I don't, like I said, I've mentioned this multiple times, I don't have Beta Ray Bill, so I can't fully build the deck out. But I do really like it. I think it's such a cool archetype. I think the only difference is that I think the thing that's really setting this deck apart is it is very telegraphed. Like, you know exactly what's happening, especially if you get out Thor and Stormbreaker and then you see a Jane Foster. It's pretty easy to tell what's going to happen. I know Lockjaw kind of adds a little bit of, I guess, I'm going to go with, I'm not going to say RNG. It is RNG, but it adds a little bit of variability to knowing what's going to pop up. But I'm happy to see it. I think that going to 0-3 is really, really is really good for this deck because it puts a lot of power out there. Because if you're playing Stormbreaker on a lane, 1 power is not a whole lot of a swing, but 3 power could make the difference in some games. So I'm actually really excited to see it. Part of me really is curious if this isn't meant to be a buff to Beta Ray Bill, but it's actually meant to be a buff to King Eitri. Because they put this new card out there and nobody's really using him. So that did cross my mind of, oh, this isn't for Beta Ray, this is actually for Eitri. But either way, I'm happy to see it. I really hope that, you know, this deck can see some life come back into it. So I'm really excited to see, you know, if this is enough power to kind of push it into a new threshold of being a little bit more meta relevant. All right, the next good boy on the list is in fact Lockjaw. He's going from a 4/4 to a 4/5. Does this actually really do anything? I mean, this is kind of one of those times where there are times where I really struggle with seeing like, oh, they took a power off or they gained a power, and I'm like, that's not going to do anything, and then the card just becomes completely unplayable. This is one of those situations where I'm like, is one more power really needed on Lockjaw? Is this make or break for him? And I don't know. I really have no idea if this actually is going to make him better or not, because I mean, essentially nobody's playing him for his power. Everyone's playing it to essentially, you know, ping out more stones than Thanos or ping out more hammers and hammered in. So I'm not really certain the really 4/5 makes Lockjaw that more attractive of a card, but it could be wrong. Like I said, I really could be wrong. I think that I would like, I mean, he is a fun card. I do like the chaos that he kind of brings of playing on him. But either way, he went from 4/4 to 4/5. I'm actually really curious to see how this actually plays out, if it actually impacts him at all. All right, the next card on our list is Shuri. She's going from a 4/1 to a 4/3. And that is a significant buff. I mean, they buffed her up 2 power. I mean, I just was talking, you know, a lot of smack on, you know, going up in 1 power. Does that actually really make a difference? But I mean, going from 1 power to 3 power is a significant buff. I think my only, I guess, trepidation with this buff is that, especially with Shuri, like, nobody cares about her power. Everyone cares about the power of the card that you play after Shuri. And, you know, on some of these, especially like if you're like hitting Red Hulk or, you know, turning a 10 into a 20, does 3 power on Shuri really matter? Like, it does it? So, I mean, I guess to an extent, if like you've got 3 power in a lane now and then you Arnim Zola and you hope you hit the bigger card, you know, you play that 50-50 game that we all like to do, and then you've got 3 power left. I mean, yeah, I guess that could make a significant difference depending on what your opponent's playing there. On top of it, if your opponent sees you play Shuri and then they know something bigger is coming, they're probably not going to play in that lane either. Like, I'm not competing with, you know, a 26 power Red Hulk that gets slapped down. I guess it wouldn't necessarily be Red Hulk. It'd have to be on like turn 5 or whatever. I mean, Red Hulk is a thing with Shuri. I don't know why I'm rambling, but I guess, I mean, I can see it. It is a big buff. So I'm really excited to see what kind of comes of this, because Shuri is a really fun card. She also is very telegraphed. That is one thing, is that she is extremely telegraphed, and when you see that coming, you're bailing or you're staying in because you have a way to stop it. So I am really curious to see what happens with Shuri. I do like that she once again is another card that deserved to kind of get a buff, a little nudge up of like, hey, can we bring this back into the meta slightly? Next card on the list is Frigga. She is a 3/3. Now a 3/4. So she gained 1 power. I don't know. I like Frigga. I don't actually have her, but I mean, the decks that I've seen her run in seem like a lot of fun. There has been a couple of times where I'm like, okay, that's kind of a dirty play. I really like that. But I mean, especially in anti-venom, I think that I've seen her do some really silly things at anti-venom and then throw down a Luke Cage. So nobody or everyone gains their power back, which that seems fun. Especially if we're getting that anti-venom bundle in February. Frigga may be something I'm chasing after. But overall, you know, I kind of figured since she was not getting a whole lot of play, they would be adjusting her somehow. So I think this is probably an expected bump up from 3 power to 4 power. But nothing really too exciting to write home about. Too long. And the next card on the list is in fact Black Widow. She's going from a 3/4 to a 3/3, a slight nerf. And honestly, I don't know. Like, I think they're struggling to find a balance with Black Widow. I mean, they changed her to an activate because they did not like the Grandmaster shenanigans that were going on with her, which I agree with. I think she is an extremely frustrating card to play against. I mean, she would probably be in my top 4 or 5 of most frustrating cards to play against. I mean, even like, I know a lot of tech cards are supposed to be that way, and I think she's honestly supposed to be that way. It just does not feel good playing against Black Widow. So I don't know. I don't know if they're ever going to get that balance. I don't really think she feels that bad. I mean, there's what, a couple of decks she's being run in now. I think one of them being is that Darkhawk deck. Is it a discard one? Either way, I think overall, I'm not upset to see her slightly nerfed, because once again, I do find her frustrating to play against, but also that's literally the card that they designed. She is doing what she's intended to do. So overall, I don't know. We'll see if this actually makes an impact. I think she's still going to be running the decks that she was running, which even then, I don't think is a huge amount. I don't think she's seeing widespread play. Was this nerf really necessary? I don't know. I don't think so, but apparently she had too high of a win rate. Let's move on. And the next one on the list is, of course, Enchantress. She's going from a 4/5 to a 4/6, just a 1 power buff. I don't think this necessarily makes her more attractive a card to play. It just doesn't. I think the only decks that I see Enchantress ran in at all is Arishem, and with the changes made to him, I don't see this, you know, making people be like, oh, well, you know, I should probably throw an Enchantress in my other decks. I don't see that happening. And I think the primary reason is Rogue is just better. I mean, Enchantress will win a lane, Rogue will win a game. I mean, being able to snipe something with Rogue is so much better than just turning it off with Enchantress. And on top of it, Enchantress is also detrimental to your own cards. But I am going to say I don't think that they need to make it that Enchantress only hits your opponent's cards, because then at that point I think she's too strong. I think she's really, really good at that point. But I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter either. If you're going to do that, you're going to play around it. But also, we have a lot of really strong ongoing decks that are coming, you know, in the shape of Doom 2099 or the new Captain America cards. So, I mean, Enchantress, she could come back in just because the meta is going to shift that way. So when that time comes, I'm probably going to be really happy that she's a 4/6 and not a 4/5 now. Overall, I do think it's a good change. She's never played. I think that it is nice that they are giving her a little bump just to kind of like, just to test the waters and see if, you know, a little more power will bring her back to a little bit more relevancy. But I think just overall still goes back to Rogue is cheaper and Rogue is better. So it is what it is. Moving on. All right, and the next one is Hallelujah. I'm so glad this card finally got a slap on the wrist. I mean, it's not going to change his play. It's probably going to just slightly reduce his win rates. But I mean, overall, going from a 6/10 to a 6/9 for Alioth, it's not meta breaking for him. He's still good at what he does. I think that he is, without a doubt, and I think I've stated this before, my most hated card to see in this game. He just is, especially, you know, as someone that runs Silver Surfer that likes to have a big N6 play of Silver Surfer and Absman swinging around the board. Hate seeing this card. I hate Alioth so much. So I'm so happy that he got a little bit of a slap on the wrist. But I mean, overall, it's not gonna change much. He's still super strong. He's gonna have like a couple points of win just shaved off the top, because I mean, losing 1 power does really affect things. But I mean, the other side of it is that, you know, I know a lot of people think that, you know, this, you know, taking someone out of Shang range makes them stronger. Not really. I mean, it really doesn't, because you have to, Alioth's gonna pop up first every time, and you're usually playing him on turn 6, and that means he's going to hit the Shang. Like this does not affect Shang whatsoever. So I think this is just a marginal nerf, and he's not going to reduce. It's not going to, like, he's not going to reduce the amount of play at all. He's still a super strong card. He's still going to be played in Arishem. He's still going to be a super strong tech card in a bunch of different decks. I think this really just limits him in his Surtur play. But I am happy to see it. I am happy to see him get a little slap on the wrist, because that brings me joy inside. All right, we're moving on from Alioth. All right, and the next card on the list is of course Typhoid Mary. She's a 4/10, going from ongoing your other cards have -1 power to ongoing your other cards have a -2 power, which that hurts. Our poor girl can't take a break. She got buffed last time to get a nerf this time. So I mean, it does hurt her quite a bit. But I mean, overall, if you're playing 0 in your Surtur deck, I mean, who cares? You're just going to have to make sure that you play, you know, 0 into Typhoid Mary on turn 5. That is if you have them. or you could just throw Typhoid Mary in another lane to still get your Surtur buff and a cheaper Scar. So, I mean, I think overall, yes, it does hurt a lot. I think there are also a lot of cards on the horizon that potentially could replace Typhoid Mary anyway, or realistically, any of the, 10 flower cards. I think, what's the one at the end of January? I think Ares was his name, would potentially replace Typhoid Mary anyway in that deck. So I think it's just kind of a bummer that she, in fact, did catch this stray just to essentially protect Surtur a little bit, I suppose. But overall, I mean, I get it. I guess Surtur is a really super strong deck right now, and they're just trying to mitigate that slightly. But anyway, moving on. All right, and it is time for the big man. Sit down, grab some popcorn, and enjoy your flight, because Arishem 7/7 at the start of the game, +1 max energy, shuffle 15 random cards into your deck. Now, at game start, shuffle 12 new cards in your deck. On turn 3, get +1 max energy. So, okay, I'm gonna rant a little bit about essentially about my thoughts on Arishem, and this is a hot take, and I don't think that everyone's gonna agree with me on this one. I hear a lot that people consider Arishem a great new player card, that, especially for people in low collection level that don't have access to a ton of cards, Arishem gives them access to a bunch of cards they don't have, allows them to, play cards that they couldn't normally, to see if they like them, and essentially it makes them more, meta competitive. And I agree with that statement, except that I don't think it's right. And I don't think it's right because that is who should be playing Arishem. That is not who plays Arishem. That I don't see the, collection level 3100 character or player that just got into general pool playing Arishem. That's not who I see playing Arishem. I see the level 15,000 collection level guy with Alioth and Loki, or the Thanos Arishem player. That's who I see playing Arishem. If the excuse was Arishem needs to be good for new players, I would be 100% on board with that. I would 100% agree that, if majority of the people playing Arishem are new players that don't have access to all the cool and fun cards, I would 100% agree. I mean, my entire channel is based, essentially on the beginning of, I think that we need to have more content here that focuses around new and returning players. But I don't think that's who's using Arishem. I don't. I think that it is higher level, 15,000. I think majority of the time when I click on a profile that's playing Arishem, they are at least 15,000 plus, if not higher. And that's why I'm like, who cares? If he was being used as intended, which, it's fine. Everyone can play the decks that they want to, but it's just kind of like, really, you got your 20,000 collection level. You probably have so many cards and you're choosing to do Arishem. And that's my little rant. And I know a lot of people will not agree with that. And I know there's probably a lot of people out there that are that level that really enjoy Arishem because he does have a random factor to him. He is enjoyable. I don't dock any of that. I just hate the excuse of, oh, who's really hurt? It's the new player. Don't agree at all. Does it hurt the new player that saves up their tokens to, get Arishem because he could be meta relevant? Yep. That actually does suck. It does. But I don't think that's who it's hurting. I think the other thing is that a lot of, I guess, the higher echelon of player, those people that try and reach high max infinite ladder every month, those ones that are really competitive of the game, they hate Arishem for one reason, and I think it's because there's a huge skill gap in card games, and I think this is all card games, in just recognizing what decks your opponent's playing. There is. There's part of that being able to call, okay, they're going to be playing, Silver Surfer and Absman with the Sarah down on turn 6, or, in other games in Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering. There's a huge component of being really good at games by having that, I guess, essentially knowledge of what you're playing against. Arishem takes that completely out of the board. I think what Arishem does is it levels the playing field with the people that are extremely good in being able to recognize, knowing exactly what cards you're playing with next, and the average Joe that's just like, hey, I'm going to play some Arishem. They're never going to see this coming. And I think that's why, and I'm pretty sure that's why that, the higher, more competitive players all hate Arishem. And that's why. It takes away that advantage. It just completely wipes the board of it. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the Arishem nerf. I'm on the fence with him. It does suck because he should be that card, I mean, essentially he should be what High Evo used to be. I mean, High Evo, you know, you can get one, you know, big bad Series 5 cards, and it turns all of your starter Series 1 cards into a deck that's actually competitive. But I mean, Arishem, I still am in complete disagreement with anyone that says that's how he's being used, because it's not. I mean, it's not. He is being used primarily by people that can afford to use him, and then stack his deck with stuff like Alioth and Loki, Thanos, stuff like that. And so, you know what, I'm not happy to see him nerfed, but I think I'm honestly just, I'm indifferent to it. But we'll see how he turns out. I think overall he's still gonna see play. I think he still is a decently strong card, and especially even on turn 3, 4, 5, and 6, having +1 energy is, I mean, it's super, it's strong. That is strong. So I don't know, let me know your thoughts. Am I am I completely off base on Arishem? Are you guys annoyed that he got nerfed? I know there's a lot of people, and let me just say that I know that there is a lot of people that are upset that he got nerfed. I do. I understand that. I understand your frustration with that. And I'm not trying to trivialize that in any way whatsoever. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting change. I do think it is a change that needed to happen just to test the waters. Maybe it turns out that everyone's like, this card sucks, and he goes the route of Kang, and then someday down the road they're like, okay, let's bring Arishem back. The Eternals sequel, that'll never happen. but either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and then that's it. That is the OTA. I don't really know if I enjoyed doing this. I think I don't like it because there's a whole lot of speculation, and there's a whole lot of being like, oh yeah, this is how everything's gonna change, but nobody knows. And I think I'm just extremely uncomfortable with essentially trying to, I guess, throw a dart at a car that's driving by at 100 miles an hour. Like, I mean, that's essentially what all of us do when we come in here and we try and predict what the OTAs or any of that's happening. And I guess I'm not just a big fan of that from an analytical competitive side of the cards. But overall, let me know your thoughts. Did you enjoy me doing an OTA video? Or not? And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys. Actually, no, hit that like button. Before you leave, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And then I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Take it later.